When exploring the vast ocean that is the PS2 library, sometimes you come across something interesting, other times something weird. Well, this time we have a little bit of both, since we're playing the Nightmare of Druaga, Fushigi no Dungeon. Wait, Fushigi? You mean that gravity ball scam thingy from 2010? No, silly, Fushigi is the Japanese word for mystery or secret, of course. Thanks, Wikipedia. Anyway, as you can probably tell, this is a Japanese game published by Namco exclusively for the PS2 and a sequel to the Tower of Druaga, a super old arcade action RPG that looks and plays nothing like this game, naturally. So what makes this game special? Two things, its gameplay and its presentation. This is a 3D roguelike dungeon crawler, not like the ones that flood the indie scene nowadays. We're talking about maze-like levels, grid-based movement, turn-based combat, unidentified items, and lots of RNG and fairness, all the classic staples of a roguelike. What about the presentation? Well, I think it's quite obvious really.
Anime is gaming!
Yep, an anime roguelike. What more could you want? Let's see if it's any good though. Roguelikes usually focus mainly on the gameplay. Yeah, there is a story, but it's so basic and straightforward it rivals a porn movie scenario in its complexity. The Nightmare of Druaga is no different. The story takes place in ancient Babylon, with Gilgamesh trying to save his fiancée Ki from the evil sorceress Skuld. Of course, there is more to it, with magical chrono orbs you need to destroy, beasts to slay, and many plot twists that transcend the very fabric of time and space to unveil. But do you really care? I mean, look at Gil here, he doesn't care, he's too stoned to care, and that Jontis isn't doing any favors. The plot is nothing too revolutionary, and that's good, since all I care about is the gameplay, which is pretty serviceable for its time. Like I said before, this is a roguelike in its purest form. You descend into mysterious dungeons, moving one tile at a time, defeating enemies in turn-based combat and increasing your strength either by leveling up or by collecting various loot. Pretty standard stuff, just replace the ASCII characters with anime ones. Yeah, the art style is pretty adorable. Even though the models and characters are low poly, their texturing is quite high quality, and their chibi nature helps make everything cuter. Just look at Skuld here, can you even consider her evil when she looks like a Funko Pop? I guess it depends on whether you like Funko Pops or not. But don't let the character's cute nature distract you, since the dungeons themselves are quite the opposite. They are dark and foreboding, filled to the brim with enemies, and the thick fog surrounding the area adds to their atmosphere. Combine that with the music, which manages to be both tense and mysterious, and dungeon exploration feels almost like a horror game. Okay, it's not that scary, but it can get pretty tense, especially when you consider the stakes involved. Since this is a roguelike, when you die, you lose all your equipment, half your money, and start from the beginning of a dungeon. You can inscribe a certain number of items to stay with you even if you die, and you can store your money to mitigate those issues, but if you die, you have to start the dungeon from the beginning. And no, there is no way to cheese this. The game is very strict with its loading and saving. You can only save your game in between dungeons, and even then, it's only a temporary save to let you pause your game. Once you load back, it will disappear. Every time you save, the game just turns itself off and prompts you to power off a console, which is unnecessary and annoying. And if that's not enough, if you close the console while in a dungeon, either because of an accident or because you were trying to save yourself from death, the game will scold you like a toddler. Yeah, once you load your save file, you won't go back to the dungeon floor you were at. The goddess Ishtar herself will descend from the heavens to give you lip. She will be angry at you for trying to reset the game and make you pinky winky promise you'll be a good boy and never ever try to do that again. Well, joke's on you, I have save states, you stupid bits. I know the whole point of a roguelike is learning from your mistakes and using what you have available to make things count, but the game isn't always fair with you either. Dungeons aren't randomized in their layout, but their loot is, with a specific set of enemies on each floor. Combat is simple, you can attack enemies on all cardinal directions, or use your weapon's abilities for more damage or status effects at the cost of ability points. Some enemies can resurrect themselves, others attack faster or can inflict status ailments on you. Other enemies can just destroy your entire health bar in a single hit, regardless of your level or gear. You can't really defeat them, you just have to run away from them. The first time you encounter such an enemy, the game warns you about them. The next time though, you have no idea a stupid little hedgehog can just demolish your health out of nowhere. It's stupid and unfair. Besides that small annoyance, the game is pretty fun. Dungeons aren't too big, and enemy encounters don't drag on for too long. To move on to the next level, you have to find the key and unlock the dungeon's door, which are always marked on your minimap. So overall the game is fast and straightforward. Well, fast is clearly hyperbole because you move so slowly. Honestly, if you ever play this game, just turn turbo mode on, it makes it a much more tolerable experience. At least the turn-based gameplay makes things a bit more tactical. Well, I wouldn't call it exactly turn-based, as there are a number of factors that change your speed, like the weight of your equipment, and enemies can also attack first or multiple times in a row. So I think the more accurate description would be active turn-based combat. Also, did I mention that this game is super dark? Yeah, your field of view is really limited, and it can get worse if you don't appease your annoying, nagging goddess. Every once in a while you have to offer her one of your items, just so you can see a little further again. I don't know what's worse, this or dying from hunger. Well, this is a roguelike I guess, so loitering isn't allowed here. Aside from all the classic looting and killing, you can combine items and weapons to create stronger gear, identify unknown potions and equipment, as well as complete side quests, which take place in separate dungeons and have their own goals to complete. And if that's not enough, you can enter bonus dungeons, which are much harder than the regular ones. You don't gain any experience for killing enemies, but you might get some good loot if you survive. It's not much, but it helps to spice up the otherwise monotonous and snail-paced gameplay. Playing the Nightmare of Druaga was an interesting experience. It was definitely enjoyable, I had fun exploring the dungeons, and there were some tense moments avoiding the more powerful monsters and trying to find my way out. I wouldn't call it a hidden gem, however, as there wasn't enough to keep me engaged. The gameplay is repetitive and super slow, to the point where it gets a bit tedious doing the same thing over and over. The graphics are fine, but the areas themselves are too simplistic to be memorable or interesting. There are some interesting mechanics with alchemy, gear combining, and the bonus dungeons, but it's simply not enough. I think the perfect word to describe this game is mediocre. And that's not a bad thing, the PS2 thrives on having a ton of mediocre but enjoyable games. This is one of them, and I recommend you give it a try. If you're a fan of the original roguelike recipe, you'll definitely feel at home here, since this is basically an old school roguelike with a 3D coat of paint. For those who are not really fans of the genre, the unique blend of old school mechanics and cute presentation might win you over if you can survive its tediously slow pace, and that's the Nightmare of Druaga in a nutshell. Thank you very much for watching, I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments below. Have a great day, and until next time, take care and have fun.